The views expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect those of this station.
Welcome to Insights into Northeast Michigan, a WBKB News public affairs program. Insights deals with the issues affecting those in the community as well as Northeast Michigan and the state. And now, Insights into Northeast Michigan.
We hear that there's an issue happening beneath the surface at Alpena High School. Can you talk to us about the issue that is currently happening?
Yeah, so we have a sewer pipe that runs essentially from the high school right at the main entrance, and it goes all the way along out to M32, going across our football field next to our ag barn, all the way out. And we have some of the manholes that are there in the pipes are deteriorating and falling apart. We have a blockage, partial blockage in the pipe. That we had a company come, Hull Serval, to essentially try and clean that pipe out, and their water jet that cleans that is currently stuck in the pipe. And
what's stuck in the pipe?
The water jet that is a Roto-Rooter cleaning tool that cleans that pipe out of sand and dirt, because that's what's happening is we have a lot of sand and groundwater leaking into that system, and that's not supposed to be happening. So it's made to try and clean that out, but it got stuck in what they believe is a crack in the pipe, and it's 12 to 15 foot down below the surface. And so they had to actually cut that tool, the rubber pipe, off of it and drop it and leave it in the sewer system at this time. And so not only do we have a partially blocked pipe from the sand and groundwater coming in from those manholes, we now also have a cleaning tool that's stuck in what we believe is a cracked pipe underneath that surface that it is stuck in that crack and possibly protruding outside into the ground. So real serious issue. We've been getting by. Well, fortunately, we haven't had a lot of major events in the building. Graduation, we did keep an eye on. It was heavy, but it did pass through at that point. But we're very fearful at any point that the sand can continue to build up, and at that point clog that, which would cause a sewer backup into the school. So at this point, we're going to have to repair it and replace those manholes and that pipe. So we're hoping to get by here to the end of the school year here, which finished this Friday, and begin the repair at that point.
Is there any indication that the sand is inching closer, getting inside the school?
So we were able to clean it out. When he started with the cleaning tool, he was able to start at the high school and get about halfway out before it stopped and couldn't get any further. So he then went from the other end, from M32 up, and got about a quarter of the way, and at that point the tool got stuck. So we're keeping an eye on. We don't think it'll get backed up to the school. We will actually see it begin to pile up, so raw sewage would, in the manholes that are currently there, and we'd have to have a septic tank, a Hull Serval, come and pump those out. They're on 24-hour call for us right now if an emergency happens, and so they would have to do that to a point where we would have to shut the system down at the high school and then have the repair done. So we're limping along, hoping right now at this point that we don't get a major backup that happens here this week.
How deep are the manholes to hold the sewage?
So about 15 foot down are the manholes, and then the pipes that run between those manholes are about 15 foot. And again, there's a manhole about every 400 feet, all the way from the high school all the way out to M32. And so 4 of those manholes are at a point to need to be replaced. That's what's been causing sinkholes on the football field and some of the sewer smell maybe that we've had into the high school. And so it is old concrete pipe that is laid all the way through there. So at this point, we're going to replace it with a much newer, better material of PVC that's used for those that hopefully will last a long time. And this has lasted quite a while as well. It's just it's in need of repair at this point, and so
because of the emergency.
It's something that we just obviously have to do.
Let's say sand were to get into the school. Are we saying that sand could travel to the water fountains and like the bathrooms and the
So
water?
what it would be is it's actually a pileup of sand in the pipe that clogs it, and it's all the thing that's flushed down toilets and things that would get stuck and start backing up into the school. So it's a very messy situation that we obviously do not want to have happen, and so we're doing everything we can to keep an eye on it daily and making sure that the system doesn't get fully clogged, and give us time to be able to repair this when school gets out. But we will have to shut the entire, water system and everything off to the high school
For
for
how
that
long?
repair to be made. We're thinking probably 2 or 3 days for them to connect that pipe and everything. They're able to do a lot of it, without, we are moving it over about 40 foot away from the football field so that we don't have an issue, or if we ever have an issue again, that we don't have to dig that up, that, it'll be more easily accessible. So we do think it'll be a couple day probably situation. We have a local contractor working on it to be able to, do that and be able to hook it up. So we're like I said, if we can make it to where there's no school in session, it'll be a lot more helpful for that
Yeah,
situation.
I was definitely going to ask, where would the children be? Or if it was on a weekday, would they have to stay at home?
Yeah, we would have to call school if we had a backup of that system, and it would not be, health department would not allow us to have school at that point with, a system where sewage backup is taking place.
If that happens, Northeast Michigan is kind of unique in the fact that our winters can be a major factor in why students are not in school. We only get so many snow days.
Yeah.
So if we had to use 3 of the 6 or 9 days the state allows at this moment,
We'd be
that's
making a
school
day
day.
up. We'd be making another day up at this point. So we're trying to avoid that at all costs, obviously, with, this week here to go, with school here that we have, so we are hopeful that, we're free and clear and be able to get fixing it next week when school's out here.
And when do you think construction should start? Right when school ends?
That's our hope, yeah. They may actually be able to do a little bit to start digging down, but won't actually disrupt the current pipe and everything until school's over.
When will be the first day?
It depends on weather. We're hoping, that it would be the Monday directly after, but depending on weather and rain and stuff like that, and if the contractor is finishing another project up, as soon as he can get in here, they're going to start the project.
Visually, if the pipe is under the football field, they're definitely going to have to dig into the football field, correct? So
Yep.
does this mean Alpena High School may potentially have a new field if they're digging into that ground?
Well, one of the things we're doing is we're actually going to abandon that current pipe, and we're going to put new pipe next to it from that standpoint so that we don't have that. We are going to fill the old pipe with a fillable material so that it doesn't fall apart in there, to cause sinkholes at that point. But we will be essentially abandoning that old concrete pipe and replacing it with a PVC plastic pipe that'll run actually underneath where the old track is to the east of it, so that we don't have any kind of issues at all in the future with the football field.
And from the damage of the broken pipe and the sinkholes, when you guys fill that pipe up with the material, will it fill those sinkholes and make the ground level, or is that another issue?
No,
separate from
yeah,
the
that's a
pipe?
separate. But all you have to do is fill that in with a stone or something to make that level. And like I said, what you have to do is make sure that it doesn't deteriorate further and causing that. So once we're said and done here, that old pipe will be filled and abandoned, left, with no issue. And then a brand new pipe will be running, 40 feet next to it. And again, if we ever have any issues with that pipe by chance, it'll be much more easily accessible not being under the football field.
You would say that this was an unexpected emergency, yes?
I would say, it's something that we started to see a sinkhole from. We weren't sure what that was, and so we had to wait really until this spring after we had snow and everything melt. So at that point, we weren't sure what it was. And so we had the city of Alpena and Suez, a company that works for them, come with a camera that actually goes underneath and is able to check the pipes and those things out. We saw that they were full of sand, which told us that from somewhere, sand and groundwater was getting in. So as Hall Serval came and pumped out anything and everything that was in those manholes, we were physically able to watch the sand and water seep in to those concrete manholes from a breakage in those, and watch it start to fill up and the sand start to flow down the pipe. And so you are really supposed to have no groundwater or no sand or dirt, be able to get to a closed system, that you're not supposed to be able to have that. So once we were seeing that and saw they couldn't get the camera any further down the pipe because it was so full of sand, we knew at that point we had a major problem. And then when Hall Serval wasn't able to clean it out because their pipe was stuck, their tool was stuck, we knew at that point we had a major issue with most likely a cracked pipe that tool is stuck in. So now not only could that tool not get through the sand, now the tool is actually stuck in the pipe.
They
and
can never get it out.
No way to really get it out. And so we're still working on that if we're going to try and dig up one section, small part of the field where we can get to that pipe to give them back their tool, or if it's essentially lost in there forever and will be sealed up. And we yet to be determined with our excavator of how we're going to handle that aspect of it.
It's known that there are some things that Alpena Public Schools wanted to renovate, change, and fix, so in the future, things wouldn't become a problem.
Yeah.
You mentioned to me before this interview started that there was a situation that happened in Grand Rapids. Can we touch on that and how it related to the bond
we
report?
obviously still have all the needs that have been identified. We have leaking roofs and boilers that are old, infrastructure issues, electrical system issues, and there was an elementary in Grand Rapids area this past week where the ceiling caved, the roof caved in. They just haven't had the money to make those repairs, and that's my worry. At this point of being able to do that, we do not have enough money in our bank account to be able to make all those repairs that are needed at all those schools with roofs and boilers. And we're being as frugal as we can with our dollars and doing what we can, but we don't have enough to get to all those things. And so this is something again that set us back. This money to fix this sewer pipe, and we even had an electrical transformer go out 3 weeks before at the high school that was a $30,000 price tag. That again, that comes out of that little bit of savings that we have, kind of a rainy day fund for those kind of emergency things. So this and the sewer pipe. So between those two, we're looking at a $100,000 price tag to fix things that we're not budgeted for, that are aging infrastructure, and things that come up that we just have to fix. You have to fix those things. You have to have power, and you have to have sewer to be able to have a functioning public building and a facility for kids to go to school. So we're obviously doing the best we can with the little bit that we have, but it's really hard, and we're not able to put the money into infrastructure that we really need, and we don't get it from the state. Being one of the lowest funded districts in the state of Michigan, we don't get those resources to be able to put our facilities up to a level that a lot of places, especially downstate, are able to.
Do you feel like does the community know the lack of resources the school district has? How have things been going since the bond proposal didn't pass?
I think that people are becoming more informed of the realities of what we get from the state, and that we are lower funded, that we don't get any more for transportation than a district that is 6 square miles down in southeast Michigan, with us being 604 square miles. We get the same amount. And I think that a lot of people are asking, why is that, and when did that happen? And a lot of people didn't realize that property tax dollars only funds a very small percentage of Alpena Public Schools. That all of our money, for the most part, comes from sales tax dollars when people buy things with their 6% sales tax. So I think a lot of people are being informed in that, and they are contacting their legislators and having that conversation of why do Alpena kids get less money here for the things that they need, when a kid in West Bloomfield gets $4,000 more per student for the things that they need. And so I think that a lot of people are starting to ask more questions and starting to understand that there are some real inequities in public education in the state of Michigan.
Going back to the sinkholes, how could this affect games being played on the football field, or any events that can take place over the summer?
Again, we don't have anything really, for the summer scheduled on there, so it won't affect any of that playing element, anything like that. The only thing that it'll affect at this point is the building could be shut down for a period of time while they fix that pipe, and we think that's going to be minimal. So again, something that we have to do, and we're addressing and doing right by, our students and community, and we're taking the money out of our, again, very limited savings account to be able to fix the pipe so that we don't have that issue.
When do you believe the construction will be complete?
I expect that we'll have all of that construction, that pipe will be fully functioning, everything, before the end of the month. Is our hope, as long as weather, allows, and this week, that is expecting a lot of rain. So, it just depends on how long it takes for the water to, dry up a little bit, and so they're able to dig and not have any kind of washout issues or anything like that. So hopefully by the end of the month it'll all be fixed.
Well, let's say the project was delayed.
Yep.
Could that impact the football players who have training camps?
No, that's all on practice fields and all that element. So we don't see any scenario right now where the sewer pipe issue will have any effect on any kind of programming this summer and going into the new school year.
And one of my last questions for you, Dr. Van Wagner, is with the school district having to spend $100,000 for this emergency, how is the savings account doing now? What can you guys afford to spend after spending that $100,000, and what can't you afford to spend?
You know, we are trying to keep it right about 10% of our operating budget, which is about 3 months of expenses is what we try to save for, and that's normally about 15 to 17%. So, you know, this gives us just a couple of months of operating expenses if some type of emergency happened from the state. You know, if the state shuts down in October and we don't get our funding right away, we have to be able to pay bills and those things. And so, you know, it definitely takes a little bit away from that. You know, we'll see where the budget ends here, audited again. We're saving every penny that we can and trying to add to that fund equity so that we have money when these type of situations happen. But right now, I don't see a situation where we're going to be able to add very much at all, you know, to the savings account or anything, and probably dipping into it, you know, some again to be able to pay these. So we'll see how our final year kind of comes out here. We won't know that until our audit, you know, that happens the end of this summer. But it definitely, you know, puts us in a situation to not have the type of money and emergency resources we need if a ceiling does fall in a building, a roof falls apart, a boiler goes out. At that point, you know, that would eat up all of the savings that we have. And so, which would put us in a situation where, again, we have to borrow money just to be able to make payroll. And so we're trying hard not to let that happen.
Is the school district currently borrowing any money?
We are not currently, for the first time in about 5 years, we are not borrowing any money for the, you know, to be able to make payroll like we have from that aspect. So we're in a good situation that way. But you know, again, just because we've been able to build up that savings account a little bit to that 10% mark, that's allowed us to not have to borrow. And so we're really trying hard to not borrow money and be able to utilize every penny that we have to make sure it goes into the classroom for kids. And so, you know, when things like this come up, it does stretch that savings and puts me in a worrisome situation to have to borrow money.
In regards to what's one of your biggest fears right now when it comes to Alpena Public Schools?
You know, probably my biggest fear is just, do we have, with such an aging infrastructure, are we able to keep things going to a point where something major happens where we would be out of school for a long time? Again, a boiler at an elementary building or the high school, a roof collapsing at this point, and then the school's security measures. You know, do we have the things in place to try and keep somebody out for a short period of time in time for law enforcement to get there, to be able to make sure that, you know, some type of major disaster doesn't happen. So with having children in the district myself, I mean, that's just always a worry. You know, are we able to, you know, have the type of things that most districts are now putting in place security-wise, and at this point, we're doing what we can with some grants and things that we've been, you know, able to get from the state police and others to put some different locks and stuff on, but we're not at the par of a lot of other places. So that's my biggest worry, is just, are we able to keep our students safe?
What can those of us do who are parents, what can we do for the school to make sure that we can afford these emergencies when they pop up?
You know, at this point, again, we're going to have to continue to have conversations about, at this point, contact legislators, you know, to talk about the realities of we get less than other places, and that they need to change that. We need to see more funding to the bottom funded districts. I think any type of donations that we can receive for anything from that standpoint, you know, if it's a new door with an access, you know, a different lock access, if it is security cameras, if it is, you know, anything at all that we have in the district. Anybody wants to donate money to help fix a roof, a boiler, plumbing, those kind of things, you know, we're always willing to take. No amount's too small, no amount too big. We're always willing, and our board always every month acknowledges people that do graciously give when we have projects. We've had, for instance, about $325 donated towards the sewer pipe, and so we'll always take anything that we can get that'll put resources back into the classroom with kids versus things like this. So
Where should parents, families, or donors submit those funds?
if anybody ever wants to give, they can get online at alpinaschools.com. We have a website where they can use a credit card, or they can send it right in, a donation and a check with exactly what they want it used for. They can send it right to Alpena Public Schools in our office here at 2373 Gordon Road, Alpena, Michigan. Or they can give us a call, and we'll even meet anybody that has any questions or concerns or would like to make a donation. They can call my office at 358-5040, and I'd be happy to have a conversation and coffee with anybody that has any resources or help that they can give to try and fix the things that make our buildings safer.
Insights into Northeast Michigan is produced by WBKB News. If you have any comments, suggestions, or topics you would like to see on a future show, please email WBKB News. This has been a production of Thunder Bay Broadcasting Corporation. All rights reserved.